The big bark, listen up dog owners, it's for you, all you canine lovers. It's your favorite podcast, The Big Bark, with your host Darragh Burke and canine co-hosts Bruno and Milly. The Big Bark.
Hello and a huge welcome to The Big Bark at Pups in the Park at Malahide in Dublin. For those of you who don't know me, I'm Darragh Burke, I'm the host of the show. For those of you who don't know much about the show, let me just give you a quick intro. The Big Bark started off in 2019, in August of 2019 to be more specific, originally under a different name. The show has evolved so much, changed formats a couple of times, and we're now in our third season, and it's grown a heck of a lot since the start of the COVID pandemic in March 2020. And here we are, 2 years on, with quite an amazing following online, a huge following over on Spotify and Apple Podcasts, and we consistently rank as the top podcast in the pets and animals category on iTunes in Ireland, UK, and a number of other countries as well. Now, initially, I was meant to be standing on stage with you all at Pups in the Park, but sadly, some other stuff came up. But a big thanks to Sean and the team for letting us pre-record this amazing episode to be able to share with you all there today. Now, usually I have my two canine co-hosts here with me. Bruno, who is what we call a bloodhound. Bruno is a half bloodhound, half Labrador, as you may have guessed from the original name. And we have Milly, who is our golden Labrador, who is such an absolute rogue and diva. To be honest, they both her, and for me, they're just they're my world. So they are. They're incredible dogs, and I have such amazing time with them. And that kind of brings me a bit to the topic that we're going to talk about today. Now, before we get to that, I hope that everyone is having an amazing day and a great weekend here overall at Pups in the Park. I hope you've all had a chance to see some of the agility, check out the amazing guests, or even get over to the fly ball. And I'm well jealous of anyone who's getting to see the fly ball today, because that is the one thing I was really looking forward to actually going and seeing at Pups in the Park more than anything, because I watch it every year on Crufts, and it's an amazing dog sport. So hope you all have a great day, that you're going to check out the arenas, the obedience rings, and do a bit of shopping, or even just take part in the DSPCA walks going on throughout the day. Now, this episode today is going to be a little bit different than our usual stuff. Today, we're focusing on that unbreakable bond between dogs and humans. We'll be chatting not just about how dogs affect our mental health and how they affect our well-being, but we'll also be chatting about how we as humans, the humans that dogs look up to, love and trust, equally benefit a dog's well-being. Now, we all know dogs share the exact same emotions as we do. Dogs experience love, they experience happiness, they experience sadness, stress, anxiety. There's a very, very interesting research being done over in Emory University in the US, where dogs are actually examined within an MRI machine to see if they actually love us for more than just food. So far, it seems the results of that are showing yes, they do, and I think anyone can tell that by a dog's beautiful waggy tail when you come in the door in the evening, and that's something we'll be touching a bit more on later on. Now, to do this and to chat all about this today, I'm thrilled to welcome two very special guests to the show today. Please give a big welcome to the show to Dr. Bobby Ortiz, also known as Dogtor Bob, and canine behaviourist Suzi Walsh of DogBehaviour.ie. Bobby and Suzi, an absolute huge welcome to the Big Bark.
Thank you for having us.
Delighted to have you on.
Thank you.
And okay, so for our listeners who don't actually know you, let's give them a quick moment And why don't you quickly tell everyone about what you do? Suzi, if you'd like to go first.
Yeah, my name is Suzi, and I'm a dog trainer and behaviourist. I have been for about 15 years. I always have loved dogs. I've worked in pretty much every area, apart from the veterinary area, with dogs for the past while in Ireland, and I love it. I call it my pretend job because I can't believe I love going to work so much in the morning. So that's about it.
Brilliant. And Bobby, why don't you tell people a small bit about you as well?
Absolutely. Thanks. My name is Bobby Ortiz. I am a veterinarian located and living in Dublin, and I work at Raheny Veterinary Hospital. I'm sure you can tell from the accent. I'm originally from the States and came over to Ireland to study at UCD, where I did my veterinary degree. And then during that time, I met my wife now and have stayed a few years afterwards. And we're expecting our first baby soon. And with really bringing it all back to Pups in the Park, I really specialize in mainly seeing lots of exotic pets, but my true love really comes back to dogs as always.
Fantastic, that's awesome. So today we're going to chat, as I mentioned, a small bit about how dogs impact our mental well-being and our wellness, and how humans actually affect dogs' mental health and well-being. So Bobby, I'm going to come to you first. We know that dogs help with the release of chemicals like oxytocin and dopamine, aka the feel-good hormones, along with other chemicals. So from a health and veterinary standpoint, Bobby, how important are dogs for our mental health?
100% agree with you there. I think really, really, really important, especially for quite a few people, especially coming out of the pandemic. I think it's pretty clear, and I'm sure Suzi can talk about this, that so many people, reached out and were adopting or trying to find dogs to bring into their lives because they probably felt a bit isolated or, again, during lockdowns when we couldn't travel 5 kilometers from our homes. So I think it's really, really important for mental health of bringing a dog in. I think some of the big things that we're looking at is, everyone talks about mental health relates back to exercise. So having a dog obviously is going to incentivize you to get out more and take your dog for walks, even though maybe during the pandemic it was only 5 kilometers around, but you're still getting out and getting the dog around. And I think the big one as well is companionship for people that might have been living alone or continue as we come out of the pandemic to be alone and find companionship in dogs. And then, as you said earlier about the oxytocin, and even oxytocin works hand in hand with vasopressin, another hormone there, and those are a key hormones that actually help decrease anxiety as well. So even just petting a dog or hugging your dog is able to release those hormones that helps with anxiety and improves happiness in our lives.
And Bobby, obviously, we have that equal effect as well on dogs. You can see a dog when you come in the door wagging her tail. Obviously there's a huge importance there as well to how we make dogs feel.
100%. They obviously look to us, and just as much as we're looking for them for companionship, for people that have one dog, like myself and my wife, our dog is super excited when we walk in, and he looks to us for companionship, for family, for guidance, and for that structure. So there's been loads and loads of studies that have shown the exact same, as he said, that the same thing that we get from petting our dog and hugging them, of those amazing hormones, the hug, love, cuddle hormones of oxytocin, the exact same things get released in dogs. When you're petting them, when you're sitting there giving them massages, when you're relaxing watching TV, it's those exact same feelings are reciprocated.
Excellent. And Suzi, I'm going to come to you next there. Suzi, Bobby just touched a small bit there on exercise. Obviously, exercise is a huge part for wellness for both humans and dogs. From a behavioural standpoint, from your point of view, how important is getting about and getting active with your dog for both our mental well-being and theirs?
Oh, it's absolutely essential. If you have a dog, and obviously they're physically able to do so, getting out of the house, getting exercise for us and for them is there's no way, you have to do it. Or there's some breeds of dogs that are living And they need so much physical exercise, not only just obviously mental stimulation, but they need so much physical exercise, which cannot be managed in a household environment or in your garden environment. It's not even the physical exercise. They just need to see things. They need to see people. They need to see sights and sounds and smells. Based on if your dog doesn't have a behavior problem, but they need all of that, because otherwise they're just looking at four walls. And a lot of us are guilty of doing that, especially during the pandemic and anything like that, of staying in one particular room. But it's not really good. It's really, really bad for obviously your mental health. And the same with the dog. There's nothing worse than if I see a dog and I know their only issue and the reason they're having behavior problems is because they're not getting out and they're not getting mentally stimulated, they're not getting exercised, and that's what they need.
Very true. And I also find a big thing for me, especially since lockdown has lifted and being able to get out and about and just even meet more people, dogs are a fantastic way of doing that. They're a fantastic way, like, not just for them, but for us as well, of socialising.
Yeah, oh, absolutely. I think I've talked to a lot of people who've gotten a dog, and for them, the dog, if they're not very confident, or maybe they're living alone and you don't know a lot of people in your area, I think having a dog and having a companion to go with you, you can meet other dog walkers or dog owners, or it strikes up a conversation. When you have a dog, it's a great way for people to approach you and for people to interact with you. And I know from my own family and my own relatives, my mom got a dog recently, and she lives pretty much by herself, and she goes out and about, and it's a way for her to be in a part of the community because she meets up with other people and goes for walks with them and their dog, or meets up in dog groups and things like that. And it's just brilliant outlet for people, and dogs allow that, facilitate that in social interaction. So it's wonderful.
And Bobby, let's come back there for a minute, because like as Suzi said there, it's great for socialization. It's also, like, dogs are also very, as you mentioned earlier, great companions. And we're seeing a lot more dogs actually nowadays that are being used for the likes of assistance animals, and just even just in general, for people who have issues like anxiety or like any sort of depression. Dogs are fantastic for that nowadays, to help people not even come out of anxiety or depression, but to give them some bit of happiness.
Yeah, absolutely. My sister is autistic, and we've actually worked with quite a few animals, and specifically dogs, to help with a lot of those anxieties and things that she feels. So I personally have seen that, and also have in the clinic setting, have had patients come in, service animals for not just, a lot of times we just think, seeing eye dogs and sight dogs there, but exactly as you said, for social anxiety or for other different types of things that people experience that need that companionship there with them. But one of the big things that a lot of times we don't realize is that the bond that we have with our animal, comes back to a really important thing called social recognition. And it helps us to not only build a bond with our dog, but it helps us form networks. And for people that might be on their own, or, might be a bit more isolated, it helps them to, and exactly as Suzi said, for her mom to, be able to branch out into different networks that they might not have been a part of before, because that dog is in their life.
Yeah, and I'd have to completely agree with Bohi there, because my own father, like, is in his 70s, and like, he takes Bruno Milly off when he can, like, when he's able to. He takes him off down to the university down here in Limerick, and he's been doing that, providing his health is okay and all, for the last about maybe 2 years or so. And the amount of actual people he's got to meet down there that he wouldn't have got to meet otherwise. And it's just great for him to actually get out as well. Like, he's meeting all these new people. So I can completely resonate with what both of you are saying there. Even for me, I think, like, look, I met my girlfriend, Jen, actually over 6 years ago now. And I think if it wasn't for Bruno, like, I don't think I ever would have had a chance, because, like, he was the glue at the start that, like, really held us together. And I think she always says that, like, she actually agreed to go out with the dog, not with me. So I think there is that, like, there is, I suppose, that side of it too. Like, dogs can help really bring people together. Now, what about, obviously, with the health benefits, for example, just wellness is a lot more than just mental health. It's about looking after ourselves as well. What about, Bobby, like, the likes of how dogs can help reduce things like heart attacks, heart disease, cholesterol, like just by getting active.
Oh yeah, absolutely. It goes back to exactly as Suzi was saying as well about getting dogs out to exercise. Pet care is absolutely linked with self-care. Like it's near impossible to not take care of your dog and not also kind of think of yourself. When people are going out, they have to get food for their dog. That most likely if they're going to the shops, they're also thinking about maybe eating better for themselves. Especially with getting out and exercising right there, people that might not even have gone out for small walks, or even if you're not walking and being able to throw a ball, you're still outside. And, all of those things are able to go back to, we were talking about the hormones earlier, and vasopressin is one that actually is directly linked with hypertension and increase in blood pressure. So all these things really do come back to exactly as you said, lowering chances of heart attack and other kind of diseases.
Exactly. And Suzi, just to kind of go a bit further on that, there's one thing that, like, I suppose it's been really looked at in recent years, and it's not just even mental wellness, like among, like, say, our age groups. It's among younger people as well. So, like, how good are dogs from a standpoint? How good are dogs for younger people, like for young adults and children?
Oh, there's a lot of research into that, and I'd see that firsthand. Where there's a lot of research in instances of a lower likelihood of suicide in younger people. This is a very sensitive topic, obviously. If you have a dog, a lot of people will talk and to their dog and be emotionally involved with their dog or their pet, and gain comfort in that. So that really, really helps. Like even there's so many ways that dogs benefit us. And I see it on a day-to-day basis, and I'm only working with pet dogs at the moment. But even a client recently, I had their dog, and their dog was naturally indicating when the teenager in the house had low blood sugar levels because she's a diabetic. And the dog was doing that without any formal training whatsoever. Now, the dog wasn't doing it in a particular nice way to start with. We've changed it so the dog would bark at the person. And now we've changed that to something else. But that dog was naturally indicating that person was, that young person's blood sugar wasn't where it should have been. It was a little bit low. And that was fascinating for me because this is a very young dog, an adolescent dog. And then I had another client this year whose dog indicated her that she had some skin cancer going on, and that was amazing to me to be involved in that kind of case where the dog was doing bizarre behavior, but we actually found the root of the cause was actually somebody's their human, their guardian who they're living with. It was their well-being and their health that they were trying to indicate towards, which was just mind-blowing.
And it really is mind-blowing, like when you hear of dogs that are trained to detect seizures and like just detect like any sort of health issues in general. Like we see so much happen in recent years regarding emotional support dogs, and it really is, I suppose, a testimony to the fact that dogs are fantastic for our mental health and for our emotional well-being as well.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, we're learning more and more and more about these amazing creatures every day and how they naturally, seem to be, for want of a better word, concerned about our well-being too, which is a very obviously big leap. I'm saying that in the nicest possible non-scientific way. But they do seem to, have such a strong bond with certain people that they tend to know when something is a little bit different and tend to vocalize that or show some kind of, you can see it in their behavior.
Yeah, absolutely. And guys, we're starting to run out of time a small bit now, so I'm just going to get some final thoughts from both of you. Bobby, if you'd like to give us your final thoughts overall on how dogs are beneficial for our mental health and how important it is that we look after their wellness as well.
Yeah, I think just bringing it all together is that, you know, when you choose to make the really, you know, big decision, and it's not a light one, to bring a dog into your home, into your life, you know, I really strongly believe it's a part of your family, whether it's, you know, an entire family that's bringing a dog in or one person. And I think the benefits just continue to, you know, increase as you spend more time and build that bond with your dog, of everything we've chatted about. And I do think, you know, by building that bond and being close to the dog, I think you're also able to pick up on, you know, different signs that they may show of them not feeling well, just as much as, you know, they pick up on us and we learn their behavior and know when it's appropriate time to take them to the vet and to make sure that their health is being watched after. You know, I see so many every day, you know, I see so many, you know, people that might be a bit older that are bringing in these animals that they've had, you know, and it's incredible to see the ages that they're up. 15, I think today I had a 22-year-old cat, I know dog, but, you know, still, you know, very, very older pets that are just being so well looked after. And you can see the bond that's been made there between the owner and the pets. And I think really, again, bringing it all back, it's just so important for our health and their mental health that we look after that all together.
Yeah, absolutely agree. And I think, like, you're very accurate in saying there, like, if we look after our dogs and, like, obviously with them keeping us active as well, it leads to longer, healthier lives all round. Suzi, would you like to give me your final thoughts?
Well, I completely, what Bobby said there was 100%. I completely agree with everything that he said. And one of the things he did touch on, which I'm going to steal now and say, is that I think that one of the most important things that he pointed out is to learn how to speak dog. Learn some dog body language or cat body language if you have a cat, but learning to speak their language, because they communicate with us all the time, and that they quite accurately, as research was recently said, know how to read us very well and are very good at communicating with us, and we can pick up their, you know, they can pick up our signs really quickly. But we should have the decency to learn how to speak a little bit of dog as well, because it's quite easy, it's straightforward, and they communicate with us all of the time, and that will make your bond so much stronger with your dog if you learn how to speak a little bit of their language.
Absolutely. And Suzi, we'll have to have you on again, maybe at some stage, just chat about the different body language that you were speaking of there, that, like, we can actually learn. It will be something of huge interest to our listeners. And Bobby, we must have you back on in the future, again, on a future show as well. Listen, guys, thank you so much for joining me on the show today. It's sad in a way that we're out of time. There was so much more that we could have actually talked about there. But look, your expertise, your knowledge, both of you, has been just so insightful for, not just for me, but for everybody here at Pups in the Park today. So look, I just want to close up the show by saying I hope everybody continues to have a brilliant day at Pups in the Park. And from all of us here at the Big Park, once again, huge thanks to Suzi Walsh from DogBehaviour.ie and Dr. Bobby Ortiz for joining me on the show. And we will see you next week, back to our usual spot of Spotify and iTunes, and hope everybody has a great week. Thanks, guys. Take care.
The Big Bark, listen up, dog owners, is for you, all you canine lovers. It's your favorite podcast, The Big Bark, with your host, Darragh and canine co-hosts, Bruno and Milly. The Big Bark,